Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the music rating, ranking, and reviewing podcast that we like to call Music Meltdown, in which we rate, rank, and review any artist's discography, songs, musical topics, really whatever comes to mind. This episode, we are going back into the 80s, digging into the well that is my beloved sophistopop genre. Although this group definitely did a bit more, having a bit of like lounge influences, and what people know them for is their house music, that being the band Everything But the Girl. obviously most well done obviously most well known, at least in the States, for their remix of the song Missing, which pretty decent song. But that actually wasn't what I knew them by. I knew a remix off of this collaboration record that they did for the opening track, or maybe not the opener. I knew a remix of the song Roller Coaster. I really liked that remix. I thought it was pretty good. I don't know if I'd ever actually checked out the original before doing this, but we did the style council together, which will go up before this, and I like to do an artist of the other person's choosing. And I figured because I knew you were a big fan, I'd just ask, hey, would you want to do Everything But the Girl after this? Because I know they rate fairly highly for you. So that being said, for me, I knew basically nothing. Rupert, your familiarity with Everything But the Girl.
Yeah, so I've been a big follower of them. First came across them maybe about 5, 6 years ago. Um, and just steadily grew to love more and more of their discography. I was already familiar with pretty much all of their stuff before this re-listen. And yeah, big fan.
Nice, nice. I'll say this. I like this. I thought that they were a pretty interesting group, front to back. But I figure I'll kick this off. There's one record though that I absolutely hated. My bottom is going to be Fuse, their newest, the comeback record. This is where I just come out and say it. I'm not a fan of EDM, house, that kind of techno scene. It is not my thing at all. And I absolutely hated this album. I have it at 1 star. I think it's just rubbish. Front to back, I don't think that there's anything to really draw you into the songs. Vocally, both Tracy and Ben, they're solid, but clearly a bit past their primes. And any notes of auto-tune on this record are just truly wretched. There are many points in which it feels like there's just a bunch of drum loops or really outdated electronics. Almost at points I get hints of like late 2010s pop that just doesn't sound very good to me. And I don't know, I just found nothing to latch onto during the songs. I just had nothing really drawing me in. I didn't think that the tracks themselves were great. And it's operating from a style that I just simply don't enjoy at all. I like this band, and we go up considerably after this, but I really did not like Fuse at all. I'm at 1 star for that record.
Ouch. That's quite a heavy start. Well, we go from the very end to right to the beginning for my final bottom album, their debut Eden. I kind of put this on yesterday thinking, grapes, actually, this is pretty good stuff. Really enjoying a lot of this. And then I plow through the rest of their discography and I kind of realize, sorry, Eden, you're still at the bottom. Sorry. I think the album starts off really brilliantly. You got their kind of early classic song, Each and Every One, with that kind of really distinctive horn intro and bossa nova feel. Classic, really good lyrics, really kind of barbed lyrics, hitting out against music critics at the time. And yeah, the first 4 songs are really breezy, really nice, relaxed, kind of bossa nova flair. Another Bridge is another cracker song with nice kind of moody organ, but it falls apart a little bit quickly from track 5 onwards. So there's a track called Spice of Life, which is just a bit more dull, a bit more drab. And then you got the Dust Bowl after it, where like the pace kind of slacks even more and it just like dries up, just loses all kind of verve and swagger. And I don't think it really picks it up in the remainder of the album. In fact, I was doing a little bit of reading. Apparently, it's a case of Everything But the Girl, kind of comprised of Ben Watt, the singer, songwriter, arranger, and Tracy Thorn, female vocalist, also songwriter. They're just kind of merging their own solo material because they were previously separate solo artists. They're kind of just merging it together. And there's a case of it not really like gelling. I find like most of Tracy Thorn's solo material fills up the middle of the record, and that's where the pace kind of drops off drastically for me. Yeah, it starts off really well, but then dries up a bit. And they got a US debut, self-titled Everything But the Girl, where they kind of just do like a best of Eden on the first side. And they're already starting off doing more Smiths kind of influenced songs, which I think sound actually a lot better. And yeah, their US debut is actually a bit more of a consistent, fun listen. And it's even got like Johnny Marr guesting on one of the tracks, Native Land. It's still like freestyles for me. It's a good listen, but it goes off the boil. And they go on to do much better.
Yep, I generally agree to most of that. I did listen to that self-titled record as well. I actually heard it first because that's what's listed first on Rate Your Music. I like that one. I have that and Eden both at 3.5, and I'll get to Eden shortly, but I have one record before then, and I think this is where we're going to diverge a fair bit. I have Temperamental. And like I said before, it's mainly just I'm not a house music fan. It's just not my wheelhouse, and it dramatically dampens the material for me. I don't know. I still do think that this is a solid record. It's just simply not the direction that I wanted the band to go into. But it's like I knew they were going to go in this direction because I knew Missing. And it is what it is. It was going to make them more money. It was going to be more successful for them. I can't fault the band. It just clashes with my personal taste. I do think that there is some really cool moments here. I like some of the production choices. I think that it actually utilizes style fairly well. Tracy is still delightful. I actually think Ben, whenever he gets vocals, sounds really good in the later half. I wasn't crazy about him near the start, but around Amplified Heart, I think his voice really gets pretty strong as well. I don't know. There's a couple of interesting moments throughout here, but for the most part, it's just, it's a style I don't care for, which is going to drop it near the bottom. It's at 3 stars for me, but I'd say if you're more into house, if you're more into EDM, I would definitely give it a spin because I do think that there is some interesting stuff here. So, number 10, Temperamental, 3 stars.
Nice. Yeah, my second from bottom is going to be their most recent album called Fuse. So it's a little bit like Eden in that it starts off really strong, but then suddenly just goes off the boil. Like the quality control dips drastically from track 4 onwards. I do think the opener, Nothing Left to Lose, is one of the strongest like songs of the year. Really nice, heavy, kind of dubsteps, drum and bass style production, very moody. Her voice is startling different. It's so deep now, and she really uses it well. I think when they're singing like naturally, the vocals sound really strong. The good songs are as good as like classic Everything But the Girl. It's just they go experimental on about 3 or so of the songs, starting with When You Mess Up, the 4th track. That's when they use these voice manipulations to make them sound squeaky and alien. And that's when it plummets, like it loses any kind of album swagger. And they do it again on songs like Interior Space, where it just sounds a bit half-baked. Like they've got 5 or so really good tracks, which, yeah, worth dipping into again. But they could have they kind of, yeah, they lose the plot with like the remaining tracks or so. It's not, it's I kind of prefer it over Eden because I think by and large it's a bit more promising. Really good that they're back, but they kind of got the same flaws.
All right, fair enough. I know you're more into that style, obviously, so it's going to better suit you. I gotta say, having that opener be one of the better songs of the year is concerning to me because this year has been really drab, and I hated that song. That was like when I knew things were dropping because it was just
Mm.
not. It's not my thing. However, I am now talking about Eden, and I'm at 3.5 stars. Not at least 9 good everything but the girl records. It's a pretty strong start for the group. Has a bit of a loungy jazz quality to it. Tracy's voice at this point is already superb. Although I didn't love the backing vocals across this record, I didn't think that they really complimented as well. I'm not sure if that was Ben or not. It's been a while since I heard it, so I don't immediately recall now. There are some missteps though across here, as you mentioned. The Spice of Life isn't great. I also wasn't crazy about Crab Walk. Those were my primary duds there. Despite that, the rest of the songs, they're all quite nice, really strong. Each and Every One, Bittersweet. I like the Dust Bowl a fair bit, as well as Frost and Fire, I thought was really good. I don't know, just a pretty solid release and showcases that they could definitely grow from there. So I'm at 3.5 stars for Eden. Pretty good album.
Nice. Yeah, Frost and Fire is a good one that also appears on their US debut. I never noticed it on the Eden album, but yeah, it's much more feels more prominent on the US version. My third from bottom is going to be their third album, which is Baby the Stars Shine Bright from back in 1986. It's a very retro album for them. They're just going for 60s orchestral pop. And it starts off really well. Come On Home, nice kind of swaying ballad. Don't Leave Me Behind is a corker. It's got like these massive horn stabs at the beginning, grab your attention. It's got little sophistopop traits like vibraphone and like scorching electric guitar. And Sugar Finney, track 6 is also another real like peppy, kind of brassy kind of banger. It's just got some very kind of lighter weight songs, which nothing to write home about. And because they're going for one style, which is like 60s orchestral pop, it gets tired a little bit more quickly compared to their best stuff.
I could see that. And it places a fair bit higher on my list, though. Found myself really liking that mid 80s stuff. So,
Nice.
despite that, I'm talking about the late 80s now because my number 8 is Idlewild. This one was a bit of a tricky one for me. I did really enjoy it, but I did think that there was a slight drop off in quality. I think that it's not nearly as consistent, with me only really loving about 2/3 of the record. But it's very similar with the two before it, stripping the sound back a bit, getting a bit more acoustic work in there, which is definitely showcasing what they would later do in the 90s. I don't want to talk about it. Love Is Here Where I Live and Lonesome for a Place I Know were the standout tracks for me. But I don't know, just on the whole, I felt less engaged. Like there was just a slight step down in the song quality here. I don't know. I have it at 3.5. I think it's still a pretty good album, just not quite top shelf everything but the girl for me. So number 8, Idlewild.
Cool. Yeah, my number 8. Going back to the 80s, it's their second album, Love, Not Money. And yeah, I put it on recently, yesterday, and it's actually pretty consistent. It's really good quality throughout. It dug most of the songs. It suffers from a case of no one favorite track from it. They're all kind of good quality, no bad quality ones, but nothing too top drawer for me. I think the first song's the best one, When All's Well. Lovely kind of lovely Smithsy sound to it. Nice cavernous sound of like 80s indie. Got nice like whoosh of ghostly harmonies that come in 2 minutes in. And yeah, throughout the album, it's just really good, like Smithsy jangle pop, and with a bit of diversity as well. The second track, These Ugly Times, is like a bit of country flair to it. Third track, I think it's worth noting that there's a bit of difference with the US and UK track lists. Again, I've been doing my rating based on the UK version of the album, which is 10 songs. I think it's a bit tighter. I think the arrangement, like the track order, is a bit better.
Just shoot me down.
Yeah, Shoot Me Down, that's the one. It's got more of a grinding, slower feel to it. Strong brass, bit moodier. And then it's followed up with like really chirpy pop of like, Are You Trying to Be Funny? Much more janglier and upbeat, almost kind of annoying rhymes with the Are You Trying to Be Funny? Money, rhyming with like Land of Milk and Honey. Any Town's also quite jangly and upbeat. And then you got like the Irish folk flair of Sean. I think Ballad of the Times is my favorite track after the first one. That's a really strong, beautiful song. Consistently good, bit underrated, but I like the other ones a bit more.
Nice, fair. That one's going to be way higher for me. So seems we have a bit of divergence with Everything But the Girl, but that's cool. Still liking the album, so nothing wrong with that. I feel like this is the one that people say is their number one a lot of the time, though. It's got a bit of that EDM flair, though, so it's not going to be my thing. I got Walking Wounded at number 7. I don't know. I This was the one that came out like right after the Missing remix, I believe, and they were kind of thrust out of that more acoustic, more mellow sound that I was really liking from them. But like I was saying with Fuse and like with Temperamental, I don't blame them for going in this direction. It was simply just going to be the bigger moneymaker. And as a musician, you're going to have to do that. Despite that, though, I think that this is the one where they best blend that influence into the sound. Tracy's great, and lyrically, I think that they're actually fairly understated. They're all pretty much all their songs are very well written. Yeah, I struggle with a bit more of the electronic led songs, but the ones that I guess, for lack of a better term, more so complement the overall arrangements than are the basis of the arrangements, I feel like work a lot better. Similar to Idlewild, though, I think that the highlights here are amazing. Wrong, Mirrorball, as well as Good Cop, Bad Cop were among my favorites. I have it at 3.5, but this is a higher level 3.5 for me. And that last 3.5. So everything 6 and above, I'm at 4 stars for. Very good records for Everything But the Girls. So number 7, Walking Wounded.
Good. All right, so my number 7, it's going to be one that's technically not a proper studio album, but here goes. It's Acoustic from 1992. I think it was made for the US as a kind of stopgap for them. It contains a mix of covers EP and also a lot of live material and re-recordings. It starts off with very like cleanly done, earnest ballads of Love Is Strange, which I think was done by Buddy Holly at one point. Just like really clean, very beautiful, very, very affecting. But then you got like Time After Time, Cyndi Lauper cover. That's just like, wow. So startling and simple, just a knockout, great cover. You got on the downside, you got like Bruce Springsteen and Elvis Costello covers, which beat the originals for me, but they're still not great songs to write home about. And then you got a mix of really good stuff. You got like live versions of Driving, Come On Home from Baby the Star Shine Bright, done in radically like more sparser ways. It's kind of like a good mix of stuff. I don't think it really gels together as a kind of album, but there's certainly a lot of good tracks on that one. So I've got it like at 4 stars because it's worth checking out for. Downtown Train as well, the Tom Waits cover is also another great cut from it, where they're both singing kind of like alternating verses, very stark piano, just great treatment, very simple but effective.
Absolutely.
So yeah, on the borderline 4 stars.
Nice.
Yeah,
that one. Sorry, that one definitely caught me off guard because I was debating if we even include it. You kind of talked me into it, and I'm glad that you did because that's still going to be a little while before I talk about it. At
Wow.
number 6 for me, I have The Language of Life. I think this is another pretty strong effort overall. still having that really strong sophisti-pop sound with a touch of their early lounge jazz style. There's just a sense of beauty and maturity in the way they write and perform the music, but I feel like this is a tough band for me to really properly dissect. The performances are always strong, vocals are outstanding, and they're always enjoyable to listen to. But I feel like at their base level, the songs themselves don't really have a ton for me to really pick apart. It's more so just everything's really enjoyable, everything's very strong, and I really like listening to it. Get Back Together, Me and Bobby D, Take Me, as well as Imagining America, all great songs. Yeah, I'm at 4 stars for it. I think it's a very good record. Just 5 more I like more. So number 6, The Language of Life.
Cool. Bit of a really tight for my number 6. Really tight because you got two very, in my reckoning, two very equatable, like similar albums with almost the same kind of plus and minuses. But my number 6 is going to be Worldwide from 1991. So similar time to Acoustic. And yeah, I like it a lot. It's almost like the most typical kind of standard Everything But the Girl record in that it's Ben Watt, Tracy Thorn, and drum machine most of the time. Very early 90s drum machine heavy, a lot of gospel like influenced keyboards on there. Almost a tad 90s adult contemporary. What makes it a good one for me is the strength of like a few individual songs. Old Friend starts off the record on a bit of a jarring note because it's all fluffy keyboards, where you got one of Tracy Thorn's most incredible vocal performances. It's just so fluttery and awesome, swoops and like flutters way up to the stratosphere. It's just so gorgeous. And loads of good tracks. I think Understanding off the next one, it's got a kind of bit of a drum groove, a bit like Marvin Gaye, Sexual Healing, but lyrics, of course, complete opposite, like much deeper and thoughtful lyrics. There's many more good songs. Like One Place towards the end is a standout for me. Very rushing, very beautiful, much kind of fuller arrangement to it. And a track I didn't initially like, but really grew on me this time was the second to last track, Boxing and Pop Music, which has got a bit of a slightly pretentious title. It goes on for about 6 minutes and it's a bit lofty. It's almost Paul Simon-esque in the way it writes lyrics. But it's just gorgeous, like Tracy Thorn. It's mainly sung by Ben Watt. Then Tracy Thorn comes in the second half and you got these sweeping strings and just like really earnest but beautiful, touching lyrics. The thing that lets it down is that you just got a few kind of like weaker songs on it, like Frozen River. You got a kind of weird outro track as well, which is like a 1-minute-long samba thing. And Twin Cities, I think it's just a bit too much of a corny, like full-on brassy pop number. So yeah, amazing songs on it, a few weaker ones, but overall underrated record.
Nice. Yeah, that's my number 5 as well. Well, my number 5 and number 6. Worldwide, 4 stars. I figure I'll spoil it now. I'm 4 stars all the way up. Don't quite reach 4.5, but still really like all the records. Hey, I mean, 4 stars is really good. Nothing to complain about there. I don't know. Like last time, I struggled to dissect the band. It's incredibly well crafted and brilliantly created pop music. Tracy's vocals are brilliant, and I love what her and Ben do in the studio. My favorite tracks here were Old Friends, British Summertime. I disagree with you. I loved Twin Cities as well. Boxing and Pop Music is really good. Just on the whole, they're a tricky group for me to really wrap my head around. I feel like, because I only listen to each of these records one time, I feel like this is kind of a group that they sort of expand and showcase themselves a bit more as you continue to listen to them. But regardless, incredible amounts of respect, and I still am really enjoying it just from the first listens alone. 4 stars for Worldwide, really strong record, and tons of good stuff past then. So
I don't remember if I've been giving my star ratings, but yeah, worldwide a 4-star album for me, just on the cusp for me. Yeah, my fifth album is going to be the one that was tied virtually with worldwide. It's Idlewild, coming in at 1988. The fourth album for me. It's since the first track on Eden, each and every one. I think this is on the fourth. They come back with their next batch of classic material. Even though it's not originally included on the track list, you got a cover of Rod Stewart's I Don't Want to Talk About It, which is just so like shivery, beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's just her voice in the spotlight and this kind of like delicate, 12 string. Eventually you get these heartbeats, you get like strings come in. It's just gorgeous. I think it's their first like prominent UK hit, actually. I think it got to number 3 in the charts. They're in danger of becoming a bit adrift. Even if that wasn't on the album, it's still really solid. The next track it goes into is a much jazzier one, quite muted, like hotel lobby jazz almost. But again, it's like Tracy Thorn's voice, which lifts it into something else. It's just one of my favorite performances by her. Love Is Here Where I Live. Something else like about her voice, she just like treats every single like syllable in such a unique way. It starts off really strongly. It's got one maybe like kind of dud track, and it's the one that Ben Watt sings, Night I Heard Caruso Sing. It's a bit of like a sleepy song, a bit of a low point. Yeah, you got nice peppy like pop songs, mostly with drum machine. Because they're just kind of like writing scraps of song, putting drum machine under it. Blue Moon Rose, really catchy. Just pretty consistently good quality, despite a couple of like low light songs, and just amazing like classic that eventually became its like opener. Solid 4-star album for me.
Nice. It's interesting. I'm looking at the records that we have left, and it appears that we've talked about all of different records except for one of them, so that's fun. But next up for me, getting into some ones that you've discussed now, I have Baby the Stars Shine Bright. Their second after the full shift into pop music, I would say, and another very strong one, 4 stars. Truthfully, I have nothing bad to say here. It's just a beautifully produced record. Tracy's vocals are incredible per the usual. I really like the drumming across here as well. I'm not sure if it's natural drums, drum machines, regardless, really enjoyed it. And there are just plenty of strong songs. Come On Home, A Country Mile, Cross My Heart, Careless. And my favorite 2 songs were the closing tracks, Fighting Talk and Little Hitler. Just a very strong pop record, incredibly enjoyable front to back. 4 stars, really enjoy it. Baby the Stars Shine Bright.
Cool. I don't know if it's an irrelevant fact, but I just find it funny that there's apparently there's a Lolita fashion shop that took its name from the title of that album. So if you want to get any like Lolita fashion accessories, dress up like a Lolita babe, you know where to go to. They got places in San Francisco, New York.
Will do.
So my 4th album, we're moving into the electronica realm with their what used to be their final album. It's Temperamental in my 4th place. I like this one a lot. It kind of grew on me because originally not all of the songs stuck because they are kind of swamped by all of the club beats because Ben Watt was immersing himself he was DJing at the time, so he was immersing himself really into club culture. All of these songs absolutely swamped in like house music and drum and bass. It kicks off with like 5 Fathoms, which is a complete banger, really catchy chorus. I'm Not Immune. I love this tune. It just sticks in my head a lot. And um, yeah, a few more listens. It works its magic. Lullaby of Clubland in the second half is also quite an epic song about going out trying to score. It's kind of written from the point of view of Ben Watt, but Tracy Vaughan, she sings on it. She's not really involved because she's I think they're starting to have family, so she was more concerned with being a mother. Um, so she said that it's like an album where she's a guest vocalist on someone else's project. She's got this really detached quality throughout the record most of the time, which I think works in a good way because it's just got this dazed quality of that being bombarded by club music, by drum and bass. Some tracks, like the third one, got really good liquid funk D&B sound to it. They collaborate with Deep Dish at the very end. I think that was actually hit like a single a year before, and that's pretty epic closer. Actually, it's called Future of the Future. It still contains the past. It's almost turns into like a cyclical like concept album, like Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall. It's quite dizzying. It's got quite a jarring outro in the last couple of minutes, which kind of almost like wrecks the mood. Actually, it's a bit of a jarring outro, but on average, I like a lot of this album. Just really impressive. Not everyone's cup of tea, but it is, something to return to. I bumped it up to 4.5 stars as of yesterday.
Nice. I definitely do feel like if that's your scene, it's definitely really interesting. And I definitely do agree to what you were saying. It does, and what Tracy was saying, it really does feel like she was more so just complimenting another release, because even on the prior record, it still felt like at its core, everything but the girl mixed in with a bit of house, a bit of EDM. Well, this one, it definitely more so feels like sort of a different project with her being like the predominant vocalist upon it. Not saying that is a bad thing per se, just sort of how it came together. Obviously, you quite enjoy it. I not quite as much, but it is what it is. My number 3 was the shock of the listening. I have Acoustic. This one really took me back. I have it at 4 stars, but this is a higher 4. To start out, the first part just being a covers EP essentially. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think all of the covers, if not match them, potentially beat them, especially Time After Time, as you remarked. I've always loved the Cyndi Lauper version, but this shit's all over it. It's so much better. Just absolutely incredible. And even on the stripped down side, I think that they're just absolutely delightful. This record pretty much is all just drums and acoustics. Ben and Tracy do a fair bit of harmony singing across this, and it's just absolutely sensational. And the remakes in the back half showcase more so just how great of songwriters they are, which, like I said before, one of my favorite elements of the band. They're just incredibly lovely, incredibly well performed songs. I have nothing bad to say about it. It's just about as good as what you would want from a covers or a remake record. It's a high 4 stars for Acoustic. Very strong release.
Nice. I think the YouTube video called Love is Strange is definitely worth checking out if you've not seen it. It's got a really fun kind of a wacky comic book thing where they're like live action in comic book panels, and it's like telling a story of like a will they won't they kind of romance. Just really cute. Yeah, love it. I think she's got these kind of really adorable like mascara eyes in the thumbnail as well. Yeah. So moving on to my third place, it's gonna be sticking to the electronica realm. It's gonna be their 1996 album, Walking Wounded. I think this is pretty immaculate as an album. Pretty immaculate. In that it's 9 songs, fashioned really well, but they just support it with like completely quite new territory for them. This really kind of dark, but still classy world of drum and bass. tracks just feel, yeah, that much tingly and atmospheric. Right from the first track, you're in a whole new world. You got strong songs like Single, Wrong, which in some ways is a bit of a remake of their classic, song everyone knows, Missing, in that it's got that prominent house beat to it. It's still like, one of their top songs. Just like really catchy with the kind of refrain. You've got like title song in the middle, which is like fast epic, lots of like really tetchy kind of drum work. They do a lot of work with Spring Heel Jack for the beats on this. The second side is really good, but it's a lot more chilled. It's not quite as tetchy. It's a bit smoother. I think Mirror Ball is the standout on the second half. Nice kind of relaxed kind of pop, kind of less like dark and clubby, but still in the realm of dance. Yeah, really consistent album, really well done. 4.5 for me. Just a case of two records I love even more. I have to say, the final track, actually, Good Cop Bad Cop, has got a real like cinematic feel, like really futuristic cinematic feel to it. Very swirling, but still kind of like not out of control sound to it. Just very good outro.
Nice. Yeah, that was one I feel like it's a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I feel like if I kept going back to it, it could definitely grow for me because it was on the borderline 3.5 to 4. So still really like it though. Number 2 for me is probably the biggest divergence between our lists. I have their third release, Love Not Money. This is where everything kind of came together for me. They dropped a bit of that loungy jazz quality and doubled down on just making excellent pop records. The album just sounds excellent, especially the acoustic guitars across this album. At points, it almost reminded me of like the Smiths meets up with the Carpenters. I feel like I heard them described as that before, and this is kind of how I would see it. Tracy's vocal work is just utterly sublime, and I don't think I could ever complain about something with her voice in this era on it. I wrote that before Fuse. Ben, on the other hand, is not a good singer across here. When he takes the lead on Sean, it's easily my least favorite. I did not much care for his vocals across this. The highlights, when All Well, Shoot Me Down, Trouble and Strife, Angel, just mesmerizing, incredible songs. It's just very, very strong front to back, aside from Sean. Just really, really enjoyable stuff. 4 stars, just great pop music, front to back, which I feel like they're really great at making that. So, number 2, Love Not Money.
Did you are you rating it on the 10-track UK or the 12-track US version?
The UK version.
Oh, cool. So yeah, they chuck in a cover of the Pretenders Kid on the US one.
Should give that a shot. Should give it a listen.
So I guess we're in the final 2 now. Final 2. And it's very like knife edge because I've been like deliberating it, like switching it all the time. It's like a case of head over heart or heart over head. I'll just drag out my second place album because it's basically a battle of 80s yacht rock versus kind of like heart tugging, deep and meaningful folktronica. My second place album is going to be their 1994 opus, Amplified Heart. And I think it's an easy 5-star album for me. It came at a really like important, like diabolical time for them. They're going through a lot of like behind the scenes strife with Ben Watt's health. He had this Churg-Strauss syndrome thing, eating up 75% of his guts. He was at the verge of death. And they were also like really struggling with the lack of hits. You know, they were like covering, they're more known for like covers of other people's songs at that time. So they're at like very shaky point in their timeline. But they just like through the struggle and the turmoil, they produced like one of their like very best works. And yeah, I love this album because it's called Amplified Heart Rate, but it's mostly acoustic. It's like very delicate acoustic folktronica, a few like skittery like break beats on it, but mainly it's just really kind of exposed. Uh, like like from the beginning, like on the opener roller coaster, you just like transported to this like really moody, melancholic world. You got the double bass player from like John Martin's Solidaire, Nick Drake, Danny Thompson, and he's just oh man, it's just such like beautiful like bass playing. Oh yeah, it's just a beautiful track, and yeah, they do knock it out of the park with like their like other songs. Um, like Troubled Minds got this skittery break beats, but just like really like intensely poetic lyrics of like Tracy Thorn. You can imagine her singing this at like Ben Watt's bedside. Just really emotional. Get Me again features more like bass playing from like Danny Thompson. Is another great Tracy Thorn ballad. Um, yeah, it's just such a great sounding album. You got a blend of like folk, like musicians from the 70s. It's got like good folk heritage. You got like Richard Thompson popping up near the end. You got Dave Mattox on drums. You got these great sweeping orchestral arrangements. I think like Two Star is just phenomenal. It's just a flood of like weeping orchestra. Love it. Um, you've got, you know, their big song Missing, but it's a bit more stripped back on the album version. I actually prefer that one. I don't tend to seek out the club version by Todd Terry. The the album version is enough for me. It's just a yeah, bit less excessive. Yeah, I mean, I think all the songs as well. I think the most powerful one for me is the fourth track, "Am I Walking to You?" It's just Ben Watt singing on acoustic guitar, and then Tracy Thorn harmonizing about halfway, trading verses. It's such a simple song in guitar. It's like five chords, Wonderwall style chords. It's just, oh man, just so beautiful. And like, it's the most basic song on that. And it's just like the high point for me, actually. It's one of my favorites. Yeah, it's like crazy almost that it's not my number one, but that's what it is. It's still a 5-star record for me. Um, yeah, the only thing I can say is that the like next to last track, December the 25th, is a Ben Watt song one. That one took a bit longer to love, but I now click with it. It's like very understated, less melodic. Even like the guitar work from Richard Thompson is pretty understated. Didn't really even like pick up it was him. Um, so yeah, even though it's really delicate, almost kind of like minimal in a way, it's just so crushingly beautiful. It's just an easy 5-star for me.
Nice.
Crazy, not number one.
On the plus side, it is my number one, Amplified Heart. Yeah, it's just another evolution for the band, taking parts of the more stripped back, gorgeous sounds of acoustic, but blending it into their beautiful, loungy style of pop music. Tracy is lovely. I think Ben's vocals have really grown at this point, and he sounds great across it. And more than anything, this is just their best crop of songs. At it's just their best crop of songs they put together overall. Roller Coaster, I don't understand anything. The album version of Missing, Two Star, and the closing tracks are all just incredible. I fully agree with you. I think that the remix of Missing is really overdoing the song. I much prefer the more stripped back, the more gentle approach that they have on the album version. But the other one's a club song, so what do you expect from me? They're starting to add in a bit of the electronica and the house music feel here. And while very light, I feel like it does bolster the arrangements and definitely pushes the songs forward than they needed to. On the whole, I just think it's an incredibly listenable. It's an incredibly listenable, lovely little pop record that I would highly recommend. I'm still only at 4 stars, but that's nothing to be ashamed of. Amplified Heart, my number one, a very strong record. Yeah.
Cool. So that leaves my number one. Last one left. Language of Life from 1990. And it's a completely like different world to Amplified Heart, which is a lot more severe, a lot more emotional. This one, Language of Life, is completely sugary pop, completely sugary, sophistopop. They actually flew all the way to LA in New York to make this album. I wish I had a copy of it, but yeah, what can you do? It really is crying out for a reissue, but it's their kind of sleek, really like massive produced soul pop record, which they apparently aren't really big fans of. They kind of disparage this album a lot, but it's my favorite. What can I say? It's just so poppy and divine, and every track on it is just like really like caked in all of this like wonderful jazzy production. It's produced by Tommy LaPuma, who's like legendary producers, worked with George Benson, Michael Franks, and he brings aboard all the like best session players like Michael Bracker on saxophone, Jerry Hay, and Larry Williams. They do horn arrangements and piano arrangements. You even get Stan Getz, like jazz legend, play on the last track. It's just got so much outrageous saxophone, like really smooth, really like dazzling keys from the very beginning, like driving, like Roller Coaster from Amplified Heart takes you into this melancholic, like different universe. Driving just takes you into this other, but like more dazzling poppy universe. Like from the very like intro, like vocal bits. It sounds slightly strange, but like really like yeah, intoxicating and different. Yeah, every like you got so many pop gems like Let's Get Back Together. Um, but you also mix it up with like more traditional, like breathtaking, beautiful, classic, everything but the girl songs, like Meet Me in the Morning, the third track. That's just like breathtakingly gorgeous, like really shimmery, really beautiful and delicate, really like like beautiful lyrics about like going off somewhere. Um, you got like yeah, really upbeat songs like yeah, Me and Bobby D, which apparently is about like refers to Bob Dylan and Jack Kerouac in the lyrics, but in a very snappy, like finger snap, upbeat way. Um, yeah, Language of Life, really, really like sultry, jazzy song. A bit slower, really just like really smoky vocals from Tracy Thorn. Take Me is quite unusual because it's like an openly flirtatious song for them. Cover of the Bobby, Womack and Womack, which I've listened to the original. That sounds terrible. This version, they just stuff it with like really smooth sax and the kind of conga. It's cheesy, but I love it. It's a good music video as well. The back end is just like one good song after another. There's like no weak chain for me. There's no weak link in the chain. Imagining America has got these really like cinematic vibe, really scenic lyrics. Then what I think is his best album in terms of like his contributions vocally. He's always chipping in with these like harmonies and like alternate lines, and it's like really soothing. It works wonders on Imagining America because he does these spoken bits. He trades it off with kind of sung parts, and then Tracy Thorn comes in. Just really like effective and evocative about like I think immigrants traveling to like New York in early 20th century. Letting Love Go is like my pick. like towards the end, just really distinctive horns, stinging electric guitar, and just outrageous saxophone solo, just letting love go on and on and on and on. It's just really catchy. The Road is like the final track. It's sung by Ben Watt. I actually think it's really pleasant, very pretty. Got the appearance from Stan Getz, like delivering really classy solo on sax. There's not a weak link. It's an album I can just like listen to over and over again, and it's so like immaculately produced. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think the band needs to warm to it because it's just absolutely top draw for me. Really, really fine between Amplified Heart. It is a case of like superficial versus like deep meaning, but sometimes I just like the kind of sleek, superficial pop more.
Out of curiosity, because I'm just curious, that came out in 1990.
Yeah.
There's another very notable Sophistopop record that released in 1990, of course, being Jordan the Comeback.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to put you on the spot, which would you take over?
I'll be honest, I'd probably take Everything But the Girl. That it is like a phenomenal, like tight album. It's got like performances from literally all my favorite like players, like Jerry Hay. Anything he touches is gold.
Nice.
Jerry. Yeah, it just sounds just amazing, like production and vocals. The thing is, like Tracy Thorn's vocals are just so like chilling and beautiful and unique. Like I can't get enough of anything. I can't get enough of the stuff she sings. I have to pick like Meet Me in the Morning as the most striking performance on that. And that's like one of the few that she wrote because I think she was dissatisfied by their kind of like lack of control of the project, but that's one of the few she writes. And I think one of the ones where you can feel like a more like direct to the heart connection.
Absolutely. Nice. Yeah, that was interesting. Definitely some divergence in opinions on there, but seems both similarly positive about most of the records. I had that one divergence at the bottom, but past that, pretty much everything was at least decent. So for artists that I practically knew nothing about going into it, that I've done an episode on, this is probably my favorite of those, except for Sade. I think Sade beats it out, but that's just because I fell in love with them. I didn't fall in love with Everything But the Girl in that sense, but still incredibly talented group, incredibly tight musician.
Yeah, I was reading that the Eden debut was produced by the same Robin Miller.
Ooh.
He was producing Sade's Diamond Life at the same time.
Nice.
And I think they're kind of in the same like quarter as each other, kind of same wheelhouse in some ways.
I'd agree with that. That being said, though, any closing thoughts on Everything But the Girl, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that they're the one thing that they do is like they're kings and queens of understatement. So their music is really understated, almost like anti-rock. They don't really. Their music takes a bit of time to work its magic. I think definitely with me, I wasn't like wowed at them in the beginning, but they've got a certain like sense of majesty that really works wonders over time. And yeah, evidently they're just a band I keep coming back to. They don't really like drop a beat quality wise, except at the very beginning and at the very end.
Yeah.
But generally they're just really understated, and hopefully I think grow in stature for you over time.
Yep. I actually just added my entire top 8 into like a playlist of stuff to go back to at work because I'm only doing new listens there if I can listen to stuff, but figure it'll be fun to give these all another chance, see how my opinions differ, see how they change.
Nice.
Yep. That being said, though, that was the ranking and discussions of Everything But the Girl. If you have any thoughts about this group, any comments about what I did wrong or what Rupert did right, go ahead, put them down below. Hope that you all enjoyed everything and you have a great one. Bye.